Right, in this section, we're going to try and find better settings to produce better results than we found in the first test that we did to calibrate our results to a particular broker and type of account. As mentioned previously, we're going to be using the input page, which we generated in step 7, I think it is, of the previous section to do that. And how we do that is we're going to be testing possibly thousands and thousands combinations of settings. The way I do it is I group the settings in terms of the impact these settings can possibly have on the results. So I'm going to do them one by one. So at first, I'm going to just do the moving average settings. We've got 24 and 19 going at the moment. How that works, it will test 12 step by one until it reaches 24. So it was going to test about 12 settings there, and it will start at 10 with a step of 1 to 20. So it's going to be testing 8 settings there. So it's going to be testing a combination of 8 times 12, just under 100 items. The only thing that I don't like about this particular line is that you should never have a start or a stop with the number, the number of the actual setting that you're using at the moment. So 24. So I'm just going to increase that, and I'm going to increase it to, let's go to 28, and that should be fine. So I'm going to actually run this setting. So by ticking on here, we are telling the optimizer to run all of those settings and give us the best result. So we click on OK, we click on optimization, and we start. Oh, there the test is run. It's tested 153 items, and let's see what the results are. So the best result is 33,437. Now our previous best result was 33,437. So it's a small improvement on our previous result. So I've got a piece of paper. To take this as a piece of paper, our current settings are producing, there we have it, 33430, and our current optimization results are producing 33437. So changing the moving averages hasn't really brought a great improvement. So let's go and change something else. So we go back again, we untick the moving averages. Now the items that really do have an impact are the initial stop loss and take profit figures. So let's do them, and again you've got one that is bordering on that one. So I'm just going to increase that by a little bit, and let's run those particular ones. So we click OK, we click on optimize, and it will start running. It will go away and calculate how many combinations. So there's 132 combinations, and it's only going to take just over a minute and a half to run those. I'll stop the video and then come back when that minute and a half is over. Okay, the testing is over, and all you do then is click on optimization results, and there has been a nice improvement. There's 37,624, and I'll just bring our little Excel there. Okay, so that was our best result using the stop and target. So let's go and look at the Adx settings. So what we do is we go back again into the input, untick those boxes, and tick the Adx settings. Again, I've got one here that's at the border, so I'm going to just increase it to 7, and that one's in the middle, so that's fine. So we'll run the Adx, see if that makes any difference to the results, or what impact it will have. It's only testing 24, so it's literally taking 20 seconds at the most. It hasn't really improved the results that much. I think they finished. Yeah, there they are. And let's go back, and there has been improvement, in fact, but not as dramatic as the stop and target one. Then the maximum open deal setting, let's go and test that quickly, and you can see the testing actually goes pretty quickly. Untick that, tick that. Oh, we are on the border, so I'm going to increase that to 30, and I'm going to increase that to 30, and I think I can actually push that up to 15, because it doesn't seem to like the no numbers. So okay, so there we are. Chris, okay, make sure optimization is clicked and click. Now again, it will work out the combinations. There's 256. It'll take us just on 3 minutes to do this particular run. So again, I'll stop the video and we'll come back to that run when it's finished. Right, so the test is complete. Now there is a trick to this particular test, because we're testing for the maximum open buy and maximum open sell signals. Now we need to have them in such a way that there's no bias. In other words, the numbers that are generated should be the same. Now, for instance, the top one, which is 38, which is the best result that we can find, has a bias because it says only 19 open buys but 30 open sells. So what we've got to do is go down this list and see if we can find numbers that match. The first number that matches we can take as our test. Okay, so here's our first one that matches. There's 30 and 30, and it had generated 36,442. So I'm just going to put that on our 36,442, and the readings were 30. Just make a note of that. Okay, now the next test we're going to do is whether a stop loss makes any difference to the results using a stop loss. So we go in there and we find the stop loss settings. Here we are. You see, currently the stop loss is using the initial stop loss only. So we're going to say no, we'll also use a trailing stop. And this trailing stop, so we activate that, and we activate that it will start at a certain number. At the moment it's set for 140, and it will trail by 70. So it will only kick in when the profit is 140, and it will trail by 70, and that's how it will run. And we'll test from 40 to 150 and from 20 to 150 on the trailing stop. See if that makes any difference. And we need to untick the previous ones. Okay, optimize, and away we go. Okay, the results are out, and essentially what the results are saying is that a following stop hasn't added any value to the results. In fact, it's slightly lower than our current settings. So the first thing I do is I need to reset that trailing stop. We don't want a trailing stop, we want only the initial stop. Okay, so now the only other major thing that could affect the profitability is whether to keep all positions open, which is what we've got set. So in other words, if the phase changes from a buy phase to a sell phase, do you want to keep the positions open that are open, or do you want to close them? Now, so all we need to do is change that. We don't, because this is not an optimization. I'm just changing one selection, and then run it. And that was a very nice quick one, and that's showing a huge negative. So what it's saying is never close your open positions, keep them open, and eventually they will become positive. So and we'll just put that in. So the alternative was a negative. So the biggest contributor to the results were the stop and target settings and they brought the results up by about 10%, which is pretty good. Now the next step is to use those settings that we had there, our best settings that we had there. And I did record them, so I'll just write them in on the sheet here, and then run some of the other settings with those better settings, and we'll see if we can push it even further. But 37,000 over 6 months is a pretty good return. It's 370% return on an automated system. So let's have a look. I'll just quickly input the stop and target settings. Okay, so here are the initial stop and target settings of they each 400, and they've generated $37,000. Now here's a trick. If you right click and that then highlights it, and you set it as input parameters. When you go to your inputs here, there they are. So it automatically loads those settings. Now, if I run this, and I'll do it very quickly, you'll see that the results should be 37,000. Yes, there we go. So that's one way of very quickly optimizing your settings. Now, we've also seen that 30 is the maximum open deal setting. That, in fact, we could most probably go higher, because as you can see, it's bumping its head against the maximum amount there. Now, just by running this without optimization, just running it, I'm sure this will improve the results as we have them. Yes, they've gone up dramatically. So I'm going to just put that in, 43,764. So it shows you can actually increase the results tremendously. You can carry on like this for a very long time and just push the results up. Now we're now at 430% return on these particular settings. So the next settings that I would say are the most sensitive is the Adx setting. So let's quickly run the Adx setting. Now the trick again is to right click, set as input parameters, and there we are. So there we've got our 30, we've got our 400, and we can now optimize again on the Adx. So I'm going to press OK, optimize, and let's see if the Adx now pushes that even higher than before. Not going to take long. It's a few seconds, this one. It's only 24 options, and let's have a look at the results. Okay, the Adx has pushed it up fractionally. I'm just going to put that number in, 44953. Then the next setting, it will be the moving average settings. I think once we've hit there, I'm going to just stop, because that's we had pretty good numbers, and we've got pretty optimized settings. So let's do that. I'll just set that as input parameter. So that's right. Now it's all fine, and we can just do a final run here on the moving average settings to see if they improve the results. Again, this won't take too long. It's just over a minute and a half. So I'll stop the video and we'll come back to those particular settings. Well, while this one is running, the objective of this is to calibrate the optimized settings to your particular broker. So as you've seen here, we are getting pretty good results off this particular broker, and this broker is Talonx. I'm running it on a demo account. That is why you need to actually run it on your own types of accounts. But the principles apply here that we've used here apply to all your accounts. You just follow the same process as what I've just followed by checking, optimizing each individual type of input, and then playing with variations of that by using the best result there, and then setting the best settings every time you retest the results. And as you can see, we've moved this up quite considerably from the 33,400 that we had before to, and let's see if this one actually, right, so it hasn't really added any value. 44,920, very small difference. So we are basically at the optimized settings for this particular broker for the period that we have checked, and as you can see, I have loaded those settings in, and these are now the settings that you can run. If you are happy about running optimized settings, then those are the settings that you can now run. What we can do is just test those settings. Let's run them on their own. 44 9,200 920. Now the most important step of them all. I have been testing using open prices. The most accurate way of testing is by using every tick. So I'm now going to take the final results, and this is where you apply the tick test. You don't just tick test for all the tests, because you're going to take ages and ages. Tick tests run about 10 times slower, or sometimes even much more than that, the open tests. And the tick tests are the most accurate. So I only apply the tick test right at the end once I've got my optimized settings, rather than doing them right from the beginning, which would slow things down tremendously. So what we do now is we're going to run a tick test on this on the particular settings that we've got so far. It will take a while, and what we will then do is we will say tick test and see. Sometimes the tick data test increases the value of the result, and sometimes it decreases the value of the result. Let's just have a look and see what happens here. But that will give you an idea of better idea of what you can expect if this was run in a live environment. Okay, the tick data run is now complete, and what happens there is that this suddenly becomes green, and it gives you a 90% reliability factor. So that's what happens with tick data. It is more reliable, it is more accurate, and the results have not changed dramatically. We've still got 44 300 and 44, and I'm going to actually put it there, 44 355. So this little exercise we did today improved the results from 33 400 to 44 300. Quite a nice little increase. But what the main purpose of this wasn't necessarily to do this increase. It was basically to calibrate the data that the settings to the most current period of testing, and also to calibrate it to your particular broker and your broker account. So you can be sort of more confident that this EA is calibrated to your broker, because you're getting reasonable results from the EA, and you're proving that to yourself. Your optimum settings are up to date. So I hope you found this helpful. It is a fairly complicated process, but the more you do it, the better it will become. There is no right or wrong answer with these ones. You can just keep on testing in circles until you come up with fairly good results. Remember, the optimum settings are not a guarantee of profitability into the future. They're just a rough guide as to which settings have worked best in the past. Right, from me, Alex Deploy, cheerio.